But I do see a bug on here that's got to go. There was a little shield bug here who I just smashed. I don't really want to see him. Well, I want to see him in the sense I want him dead. And if I see him, I will make sure he is dead. Because I don't want... shield bugs can carry diseases and spread diseases. So, yeah, I'm not thrilled to see him this early. Okay. I'm going to trim those down more. But I'm sort of getting things under control a little. Now, blackberries produce fruit on this year's canes. So cutting this stuff away does not impact my production for this year. All right, let's see. I need my pliers because I'm going to have to pull out some bad guys. But first, let's focus on this guy and see how he's doing. Dead leaves out and gone. And I recognize for a lot of people who live in environments in which disease and desiccation is less of a problem, this may seem exceptional, but we try to grow things as organically as possible. And sometimes that means we have to be a little bit fussier about how we take care of our plants in order to eliminate some of the bugs that we don't want to have to kill later. Does that make sense? You know, if we can eliminate them like that shield bug that I just smushed, if we can eliminate them by simply picking up leaves and clearing things out, that seems like a much better plan than waiting till we have some sort of an outbreak and then having to spray with something. We have organic fertilizers and insecticides and all that kind of stuff. I always keep them on hand because if you have a problem, you don't want to have to go scrounge for some, especially since they might have them at the hardware store in Williams. Might. But if I have to go up there and the weather's really bad, I can't get there. Because sometimes our road is just not particularly passable. So there we go. And, you know, when you're trimming like this, you're sort of guessing what the best move is. You can make an educated guess. But I don't pretend to be a professional at this. I have a moderate amount of experience trimming fruit trees. And I have actually taken a class with the county extension on how to do that. Plus read a bunch of books. But I don't pretend to be a pro at this. But I have to admit, we can spot, when we're driving down the highway, and we're someplace like California, we can spot what the variety of tree is in terms of whether it's peaches or something else by the way it's pruned, because there are industry standards in terms of the way you prune different types of trees. Whether you're doing it at home or whether you're doing it in a 200-acre lot with a gazillion trees. So I don't make it up. I read about it, and then I do it. This one bed has been plagued with grass for the last couple of years. Very annoying. It comes out easily enough, but it's still very annoying that it tends to, somewhere along the line, it got a good dose of grass seed, and yeah. And if you wonder why I bother to cut it down like this, it's because I am putting it into a smaller container. If I was putting this into some sort of a big garden cart, I wouldn't bother. But if I just bend these things and cram them into the container, when I go to shake them out in the burn pile area, they're not coming out. So I want them to come out. I want them to come out easily. I'm doing one side of the plants and then I'll come back and get the other side. I try not to stand in the beds more than I have to because you're compacting the soil. You know, there are places where people will leave all kinds of leaves and stuff on the surface as mulch. And I normally add mushroom compost as mulch. Right now, we are pretty much out of mushroom compost, so I got to buy some in the next week or so here, but just haven't had time to do that. Won't be the end of the world, but I want to get a good layer on here before it gets too warm because it does make a big difference in terms of conserving moisture. Am I happy with that? Pretty much. That little plant there is not the cheeriest one. I think I'm going to trim off a couple of the crummy looking leaves. It's got new leaves, so I'm not worried about taking away its ability to get nutrition. I'm more concerned about taking away any disease or bugs or anything like that. Okay, so I decree that I'm going to cut this one a little shorter. Yep. That should be okay. That should be okay. Now onto this one. When you're trimming either fruit trees or berries or anything else, if you choose to cut so that you could direct the growth a lot of the times. Oh, now see, this cane here is actually from that plant there, so yeah. You can choose to cut in such a way to direct the growth of the plant. So I don't want to purposefully direct the plant to grow out into the walkways more than I have to. So if I have a choice between a bud that is planted, it's pointing, you know, like straight up or towards the center of the bed, or then I have another one that's pointing like straight out into the bed, I will choose to keep, you know, to direct the plant as much as possible towards the center of the bed because it's simpler. We are going to have to put up trellises, and we know that. But for now, we're just kind of keeping things under control a little bit. And we can direct. When you're pruning fruit trees, it's particularly important to pay attention to things like that because you don't want branches of trees that rub on one another and cause damage to the bark and stuff like that. So like in this case, I've got a branch that comes out like this. And I've got another one that's shooting up that way. I'm going to cut it so that I'm encouraging the one that's shooting up in the air. Because that's a much better direction for me to deal with than something that wants to go out into the walkway. And that's my theory. And you know, I may change my theory in the next couple of years sometime. But for now, a couple of these branches here are shooting straight up. So I'm more likely to prune the ones out that are coming out towards me. And I want to make sure that any mummies, that's dried fruit from last year, see there's some on here, I want to make sure all of those are gone. Because if disease is going to be hanging around anywhere, it'll be there. There and dried up old leaves. So, I want all this junk out of here. And I'll come back later this week when I have mulch and stuff like that, and be more picky about I'm picking up the grass, I'm picking up, I'm getting out anything I can, but there are some plants here that are going to require digging to get them out, and I'm not doing that today, because my goal today was just simply to do the gross maintenance on this, because we have a storm coming in, and initially it was supposed to be pretty quick, and now it looks like it's not going to be pretty quick, and now it also looks like we might get snow out of the deal. So I want to make sure that this part's done, because if we wind up with a week or more where we have not the greatest weather, I don't want the plants to be wasting their efforts trying to grow out canes that are not going to be left, basically. We had some storm damage last year from one of the big, heavy windstorms that came through. Just literally snapped a couple of canes. Didn't break them off, but damaged them badly. So that has obviously affected the growth pattern, and I want to get all the dead stuff out of here from that. My goal has always been to cover the tops of these blocks with flagstone, and we could never quite manage the financial investment that took, so hasn't happened yet. I'm gonna cut right there. Again, I'm looking at where the healthy stuff is and how far I want it to go, and where's the bud pointing naturally, and I'm making decisions based on that. And there's lots of good information out there. There's videos. A lot of the university sites will have good information. There's a couple of universities, and don't ask me which ones at this moment, that have master gardener programs. So they have videos and documents and all kinds of stuff to help master gardeners and just regular people who garden. You don't have to be anybody fancy to get help from a university. And they understand that most people who contact the university are not, professional horticulturalists, so they can use little words. They're not going to try and impress you with their big words, but you have to learn a few big words. This is the flora cane. It just means it's a cane on a fruiting cane on a plant. So you need to learn a few words, but it's not hard. A decent picture will give you all the information you need. Now, we're getting there. We are getting there. And the purpose of cutting is to get it to branch. And all the new stuff that it puts out, which will be nicely branched, will have fruit on it. And like I say, I don't pretend to be an expert on this. I just tell you what I read. If this was a wild environment where you weren't worried about space, you'd probably leave all of this and it would be fine. But because we are concerned about space and we want to get maximum production for minimum space and water use, that's why we do what we do. I do this kind of in stages so I can see what's left and make decisions on what makes sense, basically. And I'll just do a hack to start with, just to get this kind of stuff out of the way. And then as I can see what I'm doing, then I can be more precise in choosing the directions of which cane is going where and that sort of thing. Unfortunate that I had to cut it today, because I'd rather not cut right before a big storm. Our weather's not supposed to be totally draconian. We're not supposed to get down to, -5 or something. But since it's March, we can still get some pretty yucko weather. That's a technical term. Okay. In some cases, I'm not taking branches, I'm just taking leaves. Leaves. Okay, there. Okay, I think that's probably good enough for now. I will be doing this again when they get taller to make them branch again. So, but we'll do that based on how they do too, you know. If we find that they're not doing all that spectacular, you know, still need to fertilize everybody. I'm going to follow the rules of what they tell me. Now we are on to the raspberries.